Hey friends, this is me 20 or so years ago, before any semblance of facial hair or gray hair for that matter. Back in the days of bleached hair, frosted tips, and those massive cubic zirconias. That's Andy, but friends knew him as Ace. Ace was more like a brother to me. We bunked in the same room together. We kept ourselves up late at night, sharing stories of our day, playing video games. Here's the thing about Ace, and it's the same thing about belonging, is that whenever I was with Ace, I felt valued, I felt seen, I felt like I mattered. Back in 2008, Ace, my brother, died in a tragic car accident in a season of my life when I was dealing with my own uncertainty of a lost job, of not knowing what my next would be in my career. I was in a tough spot. I was a wreck. I was in what I thought was rock bottom, losing my brother. But spending the week with my second family, I found some clarity as I was navigating this tough time in my life. And I found clarity in stories of Ace, stories about a guy who understood who God made him to be, a guy who understood his giftings and his passions, and he brought those with him wherever he went. I drove back home, depleted, broken, but believing when you lean into your uniqueness, when you carry those things with you, the world around you becomes a better place. And so it was that this car ride home was actually the birthplace of something new, with this vision of, like Ace did, creating safe spaces where people are seen, where people are valued, where people are known. Ace Hoops was born in the fall of 2008. In our early years, safe spaces were found on the basketball court in gyms like this, where we would just create memories on the court over $5 pizzas and dodgeball and basketball games. We laughed as we listened to stories of one another, stories of faith and friendship and life and community. And that's the thing about belonging. That's the thing about bringing our best, of listening to each other, that we have something to give and we have something to receive. The gym remained a safe space for the Ace Hoops community for a number of years after 2008. But these safe spaces grew out of the gym into public school classrooms, on playgrounds, in local coffee shops, at retreat centers, within our own homes. Belonging was cultivated in these new spaces. And so it was in 2012, Ace Hoops emerged with a bigger story to tell, a new narrative, and a brand new name, Ace in the City. But belonging had more work to do. Even as these safe spaces were outgrowing the containers that we were placing them in, leading us to an important organizational question in front of us. Was it time for Ace in the City to have our own home? We looked high and low, but the answer was in front of us all along. With church buildings sitting on every corner in our neighborhood, empty or underutilized all days but Sundays, we wondered, what could belonging look like if we reimagined and repurposed the space that we called home? So we built a home for us, for our neighbors, for our partners, for like-hearted people and organizations who viewed our work like we did. And so the byproduct of ridiculous generosity and labors of love and sweat and so many trips to that dumpster outside, the Center of Belonging opened its doors in the fall of 2020. Belonging multiplied, not because Ace in the City worked harder, but because we linked arms and believed we could do more together than we could ever do alone. Something that we say often is that the one thing that the world can never take away is your story. And our story has been so many things. It has been rich and abundant and good, filled with some of the most gifted and generous people that I've ever known. Views from the mountaintops and the valley, lows, twists and turns, ups and downs, dead ends and new opportunities. We've adapted and we've flexed. We've listened and learned from a changing community, but we have been unwavering to the place that we're going, to the place of belonging where all can flourish. We are becoming more confident by the day of the allies and the agencies and on-the-ground community developers who are cultivating belonging alongside us. What's needed, we believe, is less programming and more placemaking, more dreaming and scheming and reimagining of how we inhabit the spaces that we call home. I think almost every day of Ace and what he's meant to me personally and the legacy that he left behind for everybody who knew him. And here we are in 2021. We are turning the page to a new chapter, but make no mistake, our story is just beginning. Welcome, friends, to Capturing Joy 2021. My name is Tim Anderson, Executive Director of Ace in the City.
And I'm Matt Anderson, the Director of Partnerships, and we're just so glad that you're joining us tonight, whether you're taking this in with family and friends or by yourself curled up on the couch in front of the fireplace. No matter how you're taking the event in tonight, we are delighted that you're here, and we hope that you experience joy along with us and the community that we are developing here at Ace in the City.
So it's at this time, like we do every year, is we grab our favorite drink. So hit pause if you need to hit pause, go to the fridge, grab what you need to grab, and we are going to toast. Matt, what are we going to toast to tonight?
You know, after the last year or two, it feels appropriate to toast to the hopeful light at the end of the tunnel and all of the new opportunities and possibilities that brings with it. So cheers to the light at the end of the tunnel.
Cheers. Tonight's a special night. Tonight is a night that we are filling with stories, celebrating a little bit of where we've come, and obviously casting vision of where we're going as an organization in the future. And as the intro video kind of alluded to, we're turning a new page as an organization, kind of moving away a little bit from direct programming and toward this work of placemaking, this work of reimagining and repurposing spaces in our neighborhoods and how we inhabit these spaces and how do we really shape them into real assets for the flourishing of our neighbors.
But make no mistake, we are the same Ace in the City. We're still about the work of cultivating belonging, this idea that says that you matter, that you are enough, that you are loved regardless of the amount of money in your bank account, the God that you may or may not profess, the color of your skin, or the language that you speak. Belonging says that you are enough, period.
So as we double down on this work, as we double down on this idea of belonging, it means we're also doubling down on collaboration. This idea that says we can together co-create something far better, far greater than we ever could try to create by ourselves. Bringing our best experiences, our best expertise to the table as we receive the best from our partners. And over the years, you've seen Ace in the City pivot. We've become experts in a lot of different things, in before and after school programming, in school readiness, in immigration or housing reform. As we've leaned into these things, we've realized along the way that there are already experts in these spaces doing these things, possibly even more efficiently and better than Ace in the City. What's been lacking has been a spirit of collaboration, a spirit of curiosity that dares to ask, what could happen if we come together with our best? And we believe and we have seen and experienced that when we come together, beautiful and amazing things happen.
One out of 9 Minnesotans are hungry. 1 out of 6 kids are hungry. And what they do have access to, particularly in this area, is not always healthy food. My name is Jill Erickson, and I am the owner and founder of Rooted Green Wellness, and we partner here at Ace in the City in operating the Flourish food market. I am a plant-based nutrition educator as well as a cooking instructor. And I also have my certification in food and sustainability. Flourish Food Market is a food shelf that is entirely fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and legumes. So it either is that or the food is made from those things. And we find that while there is a lot of access to food shelves around the Twin Cities area, and particularly in Minneapolis, what we really want to hone in on is healthy and nutritious, fresh food. I'm Debbie Manning. I'm one of the pastors at the table, a church just a few blocks from here. Since this last June 1st, we have partnered with the Flourish Food Market. We show up on a Wednesday, we unload a truck, we fill bags, we deliver groceries to different families. One of the things that has made it so easy to partner with Flourish Food Market has been Jill. It's Jill who has not just the expertise and the knowledge, but I'd say the heart. She emphasizes time and time again that this is about treating people with dignity. This is a grocery store set up to be one that any of us would want to shop in. And I think where her gifts and what she does blend so beautifully with what Tim and Matt are doing with ACE in the City is it's about community engagement. That's where it blends together so beautifully, and they do that so well and with so much meaning. What ACE in the City has is relationships. You know, they have done the good, long, and hard work of getting to know this community, getting to know the families and the individuals that live here, and determining what the needs are of the community. If we were on our own trying to start something like this, we would first have to dedicate years to just getting to know the community in which we wanted to set up a food market like this. Instead, we partnered with ACE, who is already here, already has the trust, has the relationship, and so we knew already what the needs might be, which helped us know exactly how to begin, which was through a delivery service, and now how to open in person in the best way that suits the needs of the community that we're serving.
So the New Testament offers this image of the church at its best, working like a body, you know, every part joining together, working together. And while the center of belonging in many ways has been an undertaking of ACE in the City, at the same time, it just wouldn't be what it is without our partners, without the collaboration of things like the Flourish Food Market, working together with Jill and with Rooted Green Wellness and Second Harvest Heartland, but also with our church partners like Debbie and the Table and Resurrection and the other churches that make Flourish happen as well.
One of the favorite compliments that I get actually quite frequently since the Center of Belonging opened is when people come in, oftentimes it's the first time they set foot in the Center of Belonging and they look around and they're like, wow, this doesn't feel like a church basement. And if you've grown up in the church, perhaps you know what I'm talking about. This does not feel like a church basement. And yet, it's important to know that we are in the basement of a church, that right upstairs is Resurrection Church, one of our first church partners that we developed almost 10 years ago.
And as ACE in the City looks to repurpose and reimagine what spaces look like in our communities and in churches, it's gonna have to go beyond the physical space. I mean, sure, there's the wow factor when you see a space renovated like this, but the work goes beyond that into reimagining and repurposing how we inhabit the space. And so, you know, we talk about how do we work with churches and the way they engage their community, the way they're present in the community, the way that they inhabit that space. And so we want to share with you how one of our church partners, Resurrection, has walked down that journey.
I'm David Berge, and I am the lead pastor at Resurrection Minneapolis. One of my calls has always been to really want to be a part of a process of bringing revitalization and vitality. So in 2014, I mean, realistically speaking, it wasn't a question of, you know, if Albridge Church should close down, but when. And it was a faithful congregation who just recognized that they had kind of given it their last best shot. I knew that ACE was already working in a neighborhood not very far from here. I just learned from someone who was working with him that they were looking for a space. And I just said, well, we've got some space. Would you want to come and maybe take a look and see what we've got going on in our basement over here? And so that was in 2017, and things have just kind of grown from there. Then May 25th of 2020 happens, and George Floyd's murder happens, being located 1.5 miles from where that went down, just thinking, you know, how can we respond to this moment? The work that had gone in beforehand with this center, now we immediately saw its relevance when we reached this just really pivotal moment in the life of our city and the life of our congregation. You know, here we had a partner we could work with to have a place, yes, where people can come and be served, but also a place where we have these relationships established so we can live out our kingdom vision, working in partnership with others who are already doing this work. And so we're not having to do this on our own.
We started collaborating more with ACE in the City, and as a congregation, there were new opportunities that we became aware of for volunteering. And then as an individual, that was something that was an exciting opportunity for me to see our church being involved in different ways that our community had not previously been involved or had a connection to the local neighborhood and local communities. Especially as a smaller congregation, there's a lot of ways that we would love to be involved, but to have a partnership with ACE in the City and now the Center for Belonging, that has given us opportunities to equip our leaders and our pastors and our congregation with opportunities to volunteer and serve in ways that we maybe otherwise would not have been able to. For Ace in the City to be a leader, an expert in partnering with congregations, it's something that as we continue to reimagine and repurpose church congregations and their purpose and their roles, I think racial justice needs to be at the forefront of their work. And oftentimes churches do have unique resources of time, talent, and treasure, and for Ace in the City to be able to come alongside them and help them consider how to invest in areas like racial justice and reconciliation is something that is really exciting to be a part of.
And while the pandemic threw some challenges our way in how we opened our doors, we at Ace in the City and all of our partners got creative in working with the masks and the mandates so that we could still cultivate this space of belonging here, finding ways week in and week out to create a presence in this community. And nobody has been a more vibrant presence here in the Center of Belonging this past year than Render Free. And so we want you to hear from Ariel Grant, the founder of Render Free, about what this space has meant to them.
I'm Ariel Grant. I'm the founder and executive director of Render Free, which is one of the 5 partners at the Center of Belonging. I was working for a predominantly white institution, doing work that I loved, but felt like it wasn't supported by the organization. And as I began to experience stress and increase adrenaline every time I'd have to go into the work environment, I began to experience these symptoms like headaches, backaches, sleep disruption, things that we feel when we are going into a board meeting and have to give a pitch, or when we're about to run a race on a track meet. And I was tempted to take it all on myself, to be the strong Black woman, to take on a little bit of that savior complex and to save the organization for the sake of people that looked like me. But that brought on so much stress and anxiety, this sense of if I'm not gonna care for people with my skin color, who will? And it wasn't sustainable. I needed to find relief. And so I would seek out these Black institutions, these coffee shops and restaurants where Black folks really operated the space, where I felt safe, I felt understood. And it was there that I began to rest and consider what I needed in order to take care of myself. Eventually, I transitioned from that organization, but as I spoke with more Black and brown women, I realized that my experience is common. So in 2019, I was sure that we needed more spaces for Black and brown women to rest and recover from the stress that we encounter when navigating predominantly white institutions. And I was approached by a gentleman who went to my church, actually, who heard a little bit about this business plan that I was cooking up. And he invited me to consider the Center of Belonging. I was familiar with Tim, and actually Ace in the City was a part of the business plan. I loved the work they were doing, but I hadn't considered this concept of sharing space with other partner organizations. And yet when Tim approached me with this idea, it made so much sense. I had gotten so clear on the what. I knew on a gut level what Render Free was and what it was all about, but the how was a little bit fuzzy. And so when I was connected with someone who understood my vision and could help me figure out how to access resources that otherwise wouldn't be available to me or other Black-owned and Black women-owned organizations like myself, it was a no-brainer. At our year-end mark, I got an opportunity to hear directly from our founding members about what their connection to our community has meant for their lives. And I was not expecting the feedback we received. There were so many tears of gratitude, a lot of laughter, and a sense of coming home. Some of them talked about wanting and having a desire for a space, a community of other Black and brown women where they could feel belonging, wanting that their whole lives, and yet not knowing until they set foot in our space. Render Free is for community. And so it's fitting that I cannot imagine being where we are today without the community that has supported me. Having Tim and Matt and the Ace in the City family in my corner has meant a sense of security that most entrepreneurs aren't afforded, especially Black female entrepreneurs. Their support means that I get to recognize a need in the community and do something about it.
Well, we hope you can see it. The Center of Belonging is living proof of what we're all about and where we're going as an organization. I mean, our communities are filled with underutilized space. And with that underutilized space, so many possibilities. If only we had the imagination to just ask, what if? What if we partnered in this way or dared to dream that way? What if we brought our best alongside your best? What could happen?
As Ace in the City transitions a little bit from direct programming to placemaking, we are convinced that space matters. It communicates something good or bad, and it's on us to help shape what it communicates. And it is our hope, it is our plan, it is our work in front of us to cultivate spaces of belonging where you are known and seen and valued.
There's just so much amazing work that's happening here, like you just heard about. And we believe that the opportunities for even more of this work is in front of us. More opportunities for reimagining, repurposing, collaborating, creating spaces of belonging just like this. We're just getting started.
We hope you walk away from tonight with a lot of different things, with hope, with joy. And as you hear about Ace in the City, where we've come, where we're going, but one of the things that is so crucial to this work, and hopefully you've seen it throughout the night, has been this idea of collaboration. The Center of Belonging as proof wouldn't exist without our partners, without Resurrection above us, and without you. So the future work of Ace in the City requires you. It requires all of us coming together with what God has entrusted us with to do more together. And so tonight we have a super exciting match, the biggest match we've ever had. $75,000 match, dollar for dollar, whether it's one-time gifts or a monthly recurring gift. All donations made tonight and through the end of the year will be matched to take advantage of our $75,000 matching grant. So now might be the time to hit the pause button again and make a gift to Ace in the City in this work of belonging. The donation link can be found in this video or in the description below.
Well, you've heard it in the stories tonight. Hopefully you've heard it from Tim and I. We're so excited for what this next chapter holds for Ace in the City as we look at how we double down on belonging by even better collaborating with other organizations, at how we look at reimagining and repurposing spaces in our community and how we inhabit those spaces for the flourishing and belonging of us all.
So on behalf of Matt, myself, the board of directors at Ace in the City, we just remain so grateful and thankful for you all for continuing to walk alongside of us and cultivating belonging alongside Ace in the City. And so to that, cheers. Cheers to a great rest of the year. Cheers to a new 2022. We hope to see you in the Ace in the City community again soon.
Cheers.
Cheers.